On tap today, we have Dominic Burgess. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Aaron.
I am glad to have you here. You came onto my radar when I saw a certain episode of Star Trek Picard.
Oh, and as if by magic, I swear I didn't pre-plan. Um, I was just by happenstance happened to be wearing my Star Trek Picard t-shirt.
Well, I happen to love that shirt, so I'm glad you're wearing it.
Good.
So how did that go down? Because I don't want to focus solely on Picard, but I love the show. I love the performance. So please give me a little on that.
Yeah, I've been a Star Trek fan since I was a teenager. I would come home from high school, and in England at the time, BBC Two would show episodes of the Next Generation, and then Sky One would show episodes. So sometimes I would watch episodes back to back. And I got into it then, and I would, watch episodes, and they'd be out of order, and BBC Two wouldn't be showing the same thing as Sky One, and I just enjoyed the show, and I then got into the films, and I loved Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock and Voyage Home and Undiscovered Country, and I fell in love with Star Trek in general. It wasn't until Voyager came around that I was able to sit down with the pilot and watch it as it aired week by week chronologically and see it all the way through to the finale. So in my heart, Voyager is my Trek show of choice. Even though I love them all. I love all Trek. And then I moved to Los Angeles to continue my acting career. And when they announced that Picard was going to come back, the first thing I did was pick up the phone, and I was breathless on the phone to my manager, who's a wonderful, I adore her. And we have a very open relationship, and I called and was like, oh my God, Patrick Stewart's coming back to Star Trek and I have to be on it. And she was like, all right, we'll see what we can find out. And we found out who was casting it. I wrote them a handwritten note. I went down to their office. I pulled every contact that I could. A wonderful casting director, a friend of mine, Jenny Treadwell. I was like, hey, you've worked in this office before. What can I do? And yeah, then this role came along that was very secretive. Everyone was very hush-hush about it. And I got the audition, and I was spinning out. Normally you get an audition and you sort of make a choice, and you say like, great, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go in. But because the audition material was so vague, it just said you're an alien. And then I was sort of pacing the room saying, well, it's going to be very different if I'm a Klingon than if I'm a Cardassian, than if I'm a Ferengi, than if I'm this. And they told me that I was going to be a new alien. So it sort of gave me permission to do whatever I wanted, I guess. And I went in, and the casting process was wonderful. Liz Dean, I adore, and I didn't feel like I had a good audition. I walked away kicking myself, feeling like I hadn't done what I wanted to do. And then within 2 days, they called and they said that I was the choice. And then there was lots of tears, and that's how it came about.
I've talked to a lot of actors from the show throughout the years, and I see almost they all fall into one of two categories. There is the category that you fall into, where they were a diehard fan and loved it and couldn't wait to get into it. And I see that a lot with the newer shows. And then you have the earlier shows where they were like, we got this call for this weird gig and we didn't know anything about it, and we rushed to buy the Star Trek encyclopedia and read it to cover. So when you're actually able to go in as a fan, what's that like?
I can see pros and cons for both. Going in as a fan, you obviously have the knowledge, and you know that there's going to be technobabble, and you know that the world, and it's sort of in your bones. So you don't have to study up. I already knew, like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm in the scene with Picard and I know who he is. And so I get what the flow of the scene would be like. And I kind of get the pacing. I mean, it's different than TNG. But then there's also something to be said for not knowing the show. Because when you're a fan of something and you go in, the pressure to do well, or because you want it so much, can sort of choke your audition, because you're putting so much pressure on yourself and you've got to get these lines right, because if you don't get it right, you'll never be able to audition for the show ever again, and another role might not come around. But if you go in and you haven't seen the show, then that pressure is off. Then it's just another audition and you can go and be free and enjoy yourself. So there's pros and cons to both of those things. If I was to go and audition for Grey's Anatomy, for example, I know the show is so popular, but I haven't seen anything of it since season 3, and so I could go in and not have any pressure on myself. Whereas I have friends that are like, oh my God, I've seen all 17 seasons and I love it so much and I want to be on the show. And so, yeah, it depends.
So I definitely see your point there. But looking at that and like I said, you're building yourself up, and you managed to maintain a relative cool from your story there.
In the audition, yeah. I mean, actually, all the way through, I was very professional on this production. Not that I'm not professional on other productions. I'll get into that. But yeah, I've been acting now for 16 years, and I met Patrick, and I met Jonathan Frakes, who was the director of the episode. And when I first met him, he flung his arms open and said, "Welcome to the family." And it was such a warm, encouraging, fun environment. And in those environments, I do my best work. But in terms of, freaking out, I have worked on shows where I've been a big fan of the show before working on it. I'm talking Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was a big, big fan of. And I got to work on that show. And I really was giddy when I worked on that. I worked on that show as a character called Psycho Pete, and I was so excited. And I wanted them to know how much I loved the show, and I would ask silly questions that I already knew the answers to that, in hindsight, were embarrassing for me because I knew already. And so I'd sit there and I'd be like, wait a minute. You guys write this show too? That's crazy. And I already knew that they did. And but when you're a fan, sometimes it's hard. I love shows and I love actors, and I'm sure if I met Gillian Anderson, I'd be like, whoa, Gillian Anderson, or Kate Blanchett, any of these actors that I love and respect their work. It's hard. We're human. Everyone's human. I'm sure you have people that if you were to meet that,
I've gotten better about it.
Uh-huh.
A couple times out, I didn't fare so well.
Yeah. And, now not that it's expected, but now I go onto projects and I know that I'm going to be working with certain people, and it's very much now a job, and it's a profession, and it's a business, and that's what I feel like I'm digging a hole. That's what Sunny in Philadelphia was. I was just so excited to be there, and the role was so much fun. And yeah, that was that.
Well, when you said that you've been acting for 16 years, that's kind of the direction I was taking that. This wasn't your first rodeo.
Oh, no, not at all.
And Star Trek as a whole tends to grab very skilled, talented, experienced actors for a reason, because this is not your typical part. So they need a very broad range of talents there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky. When my manager submitted for the role, I think they were looking for someone that was comfortable working in prosthetics, and I had been working on a show called The Magicians, where I was in 6 hours of prosthetics every day for that role. And they were looking for a big guy and someone that could do an American accent, and so I ticked, I guess, all the criteria, and I guess not what took it over the top, but I had written this handwritten note to the casting director, and I'd said, "Oh my goodness, it would just mean the world for me just to be able to audition for this show." I auditioned a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago now. I was a big fan of the X-Files growing up, and when the revival series came around, I had an opportunity to audition for that show too. And just to audition for it was enough to fulfill my geek dreams, to be able to take a picture of the X-Files logo in the casting room and be like, X-Files. I feel like I'm involved in my childhood dreams. So yeah, that was nice. I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, we're all about the tangents here. That's totally fine. But if you're saying, I'm loving the fact that I'm sitting here and you're saying you're fulfilling your geek dream about multiple properties. It wasn't just Star Trek. Now we're getting into other stuff too, and I'm like, this. There's something to this. It's like there's this drive to get involved. There's this drive to like something so much that you want to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, like I said, I watched X-Files and Buffy and Star Trek, Twin Peaks. One of the reasons that I wanted to move to America to work was because I enjoyed American television and American program, American film. And so pretty much I graduated from drama school in summer of 2004. And within 18 months, I think I had my visa to come and work in the States. Maybe it was a little longer than that. Maybe I first put out the feelers. But Thanksgiving Day 2007, I moved to Los Angeles. And that was always something that I had wanted to do, was come and work in Los Angeles. And, there are other shows. I hope that 24 comes back and I can work on 24, and I hope to, in some form or another, that Battlestar Galactica comes around again, and of course Star Wars, and that universe is expanding. So there are all these things that I love as a fan that, yeah, I would love to be involved in, just because it fulfills, my childhood dreams. But I just love acting in general. So anytime I'm on set at all, it's always a joy for me.
And I mean, before, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Why do you really love acting? I guess I should ask that.
Gosh, I love storytelling. I love film. I love watching film and being immersed in different worlds, and I love that it's collaborative, that you get to work with different people all the time, and you learn new skills or new accents, and you get to study, different time periods or things that you wouldn't ordinarily get to know about. A big part of acting for me is research and knowledge, and so I enjoy that. And especially with television, you're working on a new script all the time, and so I mean, I'm speaking personally for me, monotony has never set in on anything that I'm doing, and I'm sure a part of that is, sometimes the work is so sporadic that you're working for 8 days on one show, and then you go without work for 2 months, and then you're working for 3 days on another show, and then bouncing to another show, and then onto something else, and it's very nomadic. and so it sort of keeps you on your toes. I'm fortunate enough right now to be working on a show for 4 months, which is possibly the longest guaranteed stint of work that I've done since I've left drama school. And so it's odd in a way because normally I'll be on a job and I'll be working on the job, but be looking for what's next and be auditioning for whatever's next. And so right now it's odd that I'm here and I can't audition for anything else sort of until next February. And so it's a very odd feeling, but it's also lovely to just be able to sit back and enjoy the work without my mind going to other places and thinking about what's next. It's all very new. Everything always feels very new, which I love.
I mean, you're sitting back talking about this being on the set of Always Sunny, and you're into it almost too much. But it's like that, you're just experiencing the joy of acting, of getting into the project, and I don't think anybody could hold that against you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just such a big fan of them and the work that they do. And I've subsequently, I run into Charlie Day and I've run into Caitlin and Rob. And when I saw Caitlin and Rob, I said, like, oh my gosh, guys, when I did Sunny, I was so hyped up and nervous and wanted to impress. And they were so nice. And they were like, oh my gosh, no, we get it. And so, I've had a chance to talk to them afterwards. And I'm sure they've had instances, everyone has instances, where they pinch themselves and they can't believe that they get to do what they're doing. And that's what it is I'm even on, I mean, we can't do it right now because of COVID, but I'm the kind of actor that when I'm on set, I enjoy talking to everyone, and I go and I sit in Video Village behind the monitors and I watch and I ask questions, and I ask the script supervisor, like, oh, what is that for? What are those lines that you're making in the script? And then I'll ask the DP, like, oh, what does this mean on your little monitor there? Oh, is that a new thing? I've never seen that before. And I feel like a sponge that I want to absorb everything I can, and as much as possible, I do my due diligence and I leave my phone in my trailer, and I just want to sort of be in the moment of it all.
Well, there's a lot to be said for being the sponge, because you never know which one of those nuggets of information might pay off having 5-6 years down the road.
Yeah, I've subsequently branched out into writing and directing, and when you're on set and you're talking to these people and you're talking to the makeup department and the wardrobe department, they have a very nomadic existence too a lot of the time, where they have hiatus and they're looking for other projects to work on. And you talk to the second camera AC who might want to be a DP or might want to produce or might want to direct. And so, it's not networking, but it's building a network of people who in the industry that I could say, oh my gosh, I loved working with the director of that episode of Sunny in Philadelphia so much, and I have a pilot that I've written that I would like to get off the ground. Let me reach out to him and see if he has any interest in, working on this or whatever it is. But not for nefarious intentions. It's just, I just like meeting people who love film and television and love what they do as well. And you can tell in the final product of things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you and I have both met a lot of really, really great people in the industry, and we've met some people who fall into the other category. And you want to know, there's no Yelp for knowing who to work with and who not to, except to have those conversations. And you want to work with the good people if you can.
Of course. I've had those experiences too. I will say 95% of my experiences in my professional 16 years of doing this, 95% of people are wonderful and warm and welcoming. And yes, there are unpleasant experiences. I'll tell you a story. But one of my very first jobs in Los Angeles, and again, I was new to Los Angeles, and I was like, I'm excited for any job. When you're a guest actor, you sort of turn up to every set like you're the new kid at school. The series regulars are there, and you're coming in as a guest, and so you take your cue from the people around you. And sometimes you go in and it's a professional set and everyone is sort of keeping to themselves, and okay, this is a job where I know my lines, I know my stuff, I'm going to say my stuff, I'm going to go back to my trailer, I'm going to go home. It's a job, it's professional. There are jobs like Picard where they're so warm and inviting and welcoming, and it's a dream because it just feels like a vacation while you're there, and everyone's collaborating and asking questions and asking for your input, and it's divine. And then there are other jobs where you go in and you feel the atmosphere, and you know that, okay, I'm just gonna sit in my corner and I'm not gonna say a word. And one of my first experiences here, I was on set. I'm very good at being able to read a room and know when or when not to talk. And, we were sitting around in our cast chairs, and we were filming on location. And so it was like this office space, and we were in a cubicle, and all the cast chairs were there. And one of the series regulars, who shall remain nameless for all time, he or she was just looking in their phone, and they mentioned something to someone else, and I heard a British accent. And so, when you're a Brit living abroad and you hear an accent, you sort of say like, "Oh, where are you from?" And they did not take that very well at all. They did not like being asked which part of England they were from. And then an AD came along, and we went and we shot the scene, and then they were turning the world around, changing the setup of the lenses, and we came back to where the cast chairs were, and my chair had been moved all like out of the cast holding room into its own little bullpen, and the AD was like, "Yeah, you can't talk to this." So I was like, "Oh my goodness, I've been ostracized for asking where someone was from," and it was so jarring, because I feel like on set, I feel like I'm an open book and anyone can talk to me, and regardless of where I am on the call sheet. Yeah, so it was very odd, but it's a very rare circumstance. Yeah.
Well, I hope it is, but at that point, it just becomes, we're getting out of the realm of being adults and we're acting like we're in high school and this is the cool kids table.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't imagine people can't get past that mentality at some point.
It's odd. And like, I was there for, I think, I was there for 2 days on that job. And it wasn't a very big role. But also, like I was saying, I have the tenacity to know, well, it's not a very heavy scene. There's nothing emotionally draining going on. They were looking in their phone. They were talking with the other people in the cast chairs. So I didn't feel like it was being intrusive. And you come away and you think, well, I mean, I was upset at the time, but now it's them and it's not me. It's whatever issues they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
That is their problem. I hope that when they went and they spoke to the AD and they were like, "Get that guy out of the cast room," that they got whatever thrill they needed to get out of there. Yeah. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I can't change anything about it. All I can do is, as I move forward in my career, and I'm, fortunate enough to be in productions that are larger, and my role might be larger, and I might be higher up the call sheet, is just remembering those instances where, you feel a little like, I don't know if I'm welcome here, and making sure that the people that I work with know that they're welcome. And you get the best work out of people when people feel safe and welcome, and able to make mistakes or try something and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna try something a little crazy here, without feeling this pressure cooker of people giving you evil eyes. It's a learning experience.
Yeah,
for me too, even though it's negative.
Well, I mean, it's good to be able to grab something like that and pull the most positive stuff out of it you possibly can from what's surfacely a negative experience.
Yeah, and there have been plenty of negative experiences in my career. Things that you audition for and you don't get, or stuff that you really want to book and it breaks your heart. And then you come away wounded, but you have to get back on the horse, and you have to keep going. I mean, I give myself, I'm going to sound like Jack from Lost now, where he has the 5 seconds to be scared before he sews someone back up again. There have been jobs that I've really, really wanted and gotten really, really close to, and then you don't get. And then I'll give myself a day. I'll give myself the rest of the day, and oh boy, I'll go to town on some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I'll watch Fellowship of the Ring, or I'll do serious self-care for the day. And then the next morning, you get up and you gotta get back on the horse and do it all over again, and get your heart broken all over again. But that's acting. You have to give everything in your auditions, and swing for the fences, and be willing to get hurt, I guess. I'm making it sound very, very terrible, but it's not. I love it.
Well, it's not, but I was actually discussing just the basics of podcasting with somebody last week, and had almost the exact same conversation. Saying, well, what should I do? When can I get started? And I said, you get started now. You pop a microphone, you record, you get it out there, and you're going to make those mistakes, and that's okay. But the only mistake you can't correct is not starting in the first place.
Yeah. Same with acting. There have been people that I have met or know in my life, and families, so many people's families will tell them not to get into acting, to do a serious job, to have a backup plan, to do something sensible. My high school, I went to my career advisor before university and said that I wanted to go to drama school, and they flat out said, oh, well, I can't help you with that. And overcoming what other people think you should do, or what you should be doing, or even within the sphere of entertainment, the notion that you should stay in your lane, that actors should act, and that you can't write, and that you shouldn't direct, and that I think all of that stuff is nonsense. If you want to be creative and you want to write something, you want to direct something, then you go and you do it, and you learn as you go.
I can't tell you how often you hear about somebody who says that they became a great director because they knew what it was like to work with actors. They became a great writer because they knew what it was like to actually have to read the lines aloud. I mean, it doesn't. That never made sense to me that you're supposed to stay in your lane, even though, like you said, you hear it all the time.
Yeah. I got my visa to work in America, and I went to my UK agent at the time, and I said, hey, I got my 3-year visa to go and work in the States. And even their mentality was very much like, oh, that's nice, love. You're going to go to America. You're going to go be a star. Oh, that's nice. All right, well, we'll see you in 3 months. And that sort of stuff fuels me. And I've I've knocked on agents' door, literally knocked on agents' doors and sat down with agents and had them tell me like, oh, we think you're very talented. We just don't know what you could possibly be cast as because you're so unique. And it's unfathomable to me that people can put you into boxes like that. I've been very fortunate in my career, at least, that I have never been pigeonholed into one genre or comedy or drama or I've played the gambit of different roles, and I'm so fortunate because stereotypes and being boxed in drives me insane. And you're absolutely right to say that actors go on and make great directors. Two of the directors on the show that I'm on right now had their start as actors, and Jonathan Frakes obviously had his start as an actor on TNG, and Roxanne Dawson, who I worked with on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., started in Voyager, and Robert Duncan McNeil is doing it now. And, artists expand and they grow and they learn and they ask questions, and why not do everything? If you enjoy it and you're good at doing it, then yeah.
I'm also a big proponent of having a hand in several different areas and several different industries, even if you could. I don't really see the necessary to make a distinction between being creative and being skilled at a more traditional career. And I definitely, because when you are an actor, you may have to have a strong business sense. You may have to get into technology in order to fund some of your own projects in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to. I've always enjoyed writing, and I wanted to get into directing because I love storytelling and film as an art. And I didn't want to wait for the phone to ring anymore for auditions and for people to say, hey, we've got an audition for you. And maybe they come along every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, however often they come along. And just taking the initiative into your own hand and creating something for yourself is very fulfilling. And I, when I'm not acting, now I teach at a studio called the BGB Studio in North Hollywood, and I'll teach improv and acting and writing, and that's so fulfilling. I love it so much. And I've had my day jobs. When I was in London, I worked at HMV and a lettings agent, and I moved to America and I worked for a very hot minute at Blockbuster Video before I quit after 3 weeks, and I worked at Universal Studios and in their food department for 3 weeks, and I worked at a movie theater, and I've done so many day jobs to support acting and to sustain myself. Sustain myself. I'm so sorry. I'm slurring on my words. You do what you have to do to do the job that you love and to make sure that you can keep doing it. I think, something that a lot of actors can fall into is thinking that they're going to put 100% of their energy into acting, and you have to be able to financially support yourself to be able to do it, especially initially, that you'll dry up. It's tough, but I love it.
I don't want to jinx things, but it would be irresponsible of me if I didn't at least bring this up to start wrapping things up here.
Yeah.
You thumbed your nose at the idea of being typecast because you really have had a broad range of roles, and yet you are stoked about being involved in a series that is known for typecasting. Does that weigh on your mind at all, or are you still just stoked to a bit on Star Trek that it's like, hey, why not?
Oh, wait, hold on, let's talk about it. Okay. You think that Star Trek is typecast? Or you think so?
I'm saying a lot of the actors have in the past complained about being typecast, and that it's known to be. It's like people have said, well, it's great that you're on Star Trek, but you might never be on anything else.
Huh. I feel like maybe that goes more for maybe the series regulars. I don't think that comes in when you're a guest actor and you're just popping in for a week or 2 weeks or a guest arc. I don't think that's something that you have to worry about. And also, I feel like that is a dated mentality too.
I would hope so.
I feel like that is a bygone era from the 80s and the 90s that goes hand in hand with, oh, that's a television actor, that's a film actor, and the streams don't cross. It's a Ghostbusters reference. But now I think that's all gone out of the window, and now I think no one is going to tell Doug Jones that he can't go and do another creature film on another production. He's had a wonderful career, and he's going to go off and do other wonderful things. And so many of these actors have gone, whether it's directing or other roles, maybe they don't get the notoriety that they got on Star Trek because, that's like a 7-year dream job. But I don't think so anymore. And I wouldn't personally worry about it. Like if an actor is working and hustling and trying to find work, if they turn down a 7-year contract because they're worried about being typecast, I don't know. That seems a little I can only speak for myself. That seems a little crazy to me. But I also know that for myself, I'm always looking for other things to do. I'm always looking for something to write, or something to direct, or what the next job is, which is why I said it's so odd for me now in this 4-month stint to not be looking for other work. But, if a traditional series runs for 6 months, then I'd want to know what else I can be doing in those other 6 months that is radically different from the show that I'm on. I rambled, but
I want you to ramble. That's
actors are the masters of their own ships, and I'm learning that more and more and more as I grow as an actor. When you first leave drama school or you first get into the industry, I feel like we make ourselves small and we want to please and we want to know, oh, what do you want? What do you want from this audition? Tell me what I can do and I'll do it, and then you can book me on the job. And what do you want on set? And we learn and we grow, and now I go into auditions saying, hey, I've prepared what I'm going to prepare. I'm going to bring it in, and if you like it, you like it. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I'm going to walk away and I'm going to book something else somewhere else. I'm just going to do the best I can in the room. This is my interpretation. Are you looking for apples? I bought you oranges. And next time you're looking for oranges, you come to me. Yeah. Super tangent.
Well, no, I love the perspective, and you're right. I mean, in this day and age, everybody in any industry is the master of their own ship. The only difference is whether they realize it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly fell into that trap of going into auditions when I was first starting out, especially in London. I would be lucky if I had an audition maybe once every 4 or 5 months. And so this pressure comes down on you that, oh man, this might be the only audition that I get for a year. Oh man, I might not get another audition ever again for the rest of my life. And so I've got to book this audition, and you wind yourself up into knots, trying to get it right or trying to guess what they want in the room instead of just going in and giving them what you want to give them.
Well, normally to try to wrap things up, I would ask, what are you working on next? But since you probably don't know, given circumstances around, where can people keep tabs on you and know where you're going from here?
Yeah, I am on Twitter at Dominic Burgess. And I think I'm on Instagram at Dominic Burgess 1. And And then I'm popping up in an Amazon show next year called Covenant, and a feature film called Breaking News in Yuba County, and then further down the line, Dr. Death, which is what I'm working on right now. So things rolling along.
Good to know. Good to know. I would love to check those out, and I would love to talk back to you anytime because I am having a lot of fun here. And you're a fun guy, and we have a lot of stuff we could hash out if we were into sci-fi as much as you say you are.
Oh, I am. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so, but for now, have yourself a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much, sir.